So this week's chapter of OshinoKo gave us a Miyako and Ichigo chapter, and automatically that makes this chapter amazing. And as I said last week, I think it's criminal that we have not gotten a lot of spotlight on Miyako to this very point, because she's a very critical character to the very story of OshinoKo. She is the stepmom, the mother figure of Aqua and Ruby, our main two characters of this story, and she's had appearances here and there throughout the story, but overall she's never really gotten a whole lot of spotlight in development since the very beginning, which is really sad, because I feel like she's a very fascinating character, and there's just so much that can really be done there from her perspective of raising these two prodigies that are geniuses at what they do, but also just ever since, she first met them, they've been very off or weird even as babies. And so I love chapters like this that give spotlights to side characters, and I'm glad Miyako finally got a chapter for herself, and Ichigo as well getting kind of a wake-up call, being pushed to the ground, and her saying like, hey, you just abandoned me, you left us and all that, what's going on here, why are you doing this, you gave up, but I haven't. It's a very beautiful chapter, even though in the grand scheme of things, this chapter doesn't push the plot a whole lot. If it only moves like a gradual bit, there is still a very impressive amount of detail that really kind of showcases, Miyako's motivations. What drove her to this very point, and why she's still here, why she's raising Aqua and Ruby, taking care of the company, and, all this type of stuff that she's been kind of dealing with, all the stress and all that. This chapter gives us everything about her character, which is very, very important. Now, before I go any further and I really dive into this chapter of what chapter 125 was doing, we do need to talk about chapter 3 here. This is when Miyako got some development for herself for the first time within the story. This was chapter 3 of the manga, for clarification, and it's this iconic scene where, you have Ruby and Aqua, they're kind of playing as gods, and all that, saying, they're divine messengers, and that Miyako should watch over them. And if anyone remembers this moment, Miyako is going to give up the family details, for instance, about what was going on with Ruby and Aqua to how they're children. She was literally taking pictures of their records and all that, their birth receipts, all that, about to just give it to a wealthy news station or whatever, just to be able to make a quick buck in money, to be able to move up, so to speak, in the corporate ladder. And, obviously, these two intervene, they talked with her, and this whole conversation basically turned into, if she doesn't follow the, what these gods or these divine messengers want, she will die. And so she gets very scared, she's freaking out, and then, you have it to where she's promised, oh, if you do very well, you'll have a shot at a next husband that will be a handsome actor, and she gets really excited, and that's basically how she became kind of a better mother figure, so to speak, to Aqua and Ruby. This was, Miyako's origin. And obviously, this isn't the same vibe you get from her character that you get in the latest chapter. She tries to be a mother figure, and she tries to be a better person. Now, okay, let's talk about the elephant in the room, okay? It's very clear that the way this chapter's written, until you get to basically this point here, where, like, we find out one of her dreams is to see this stadium full, everything kind of falls in line with Miyako's character. And then when you get to this point where she's, like, promised a second husband, it also kind of, like, this doesn't fall in line with chapter 125. So clearly, what Aka-sensei was doing here is he slightly retconned the events of Miyako, which I think in the grand scheme of things, even though I don't like retcons, it makes a lot more sense, because it's like, at this point in time, it doesn't make sense for her character, after everything that's kind of happened throughout the story, to want to get a second husband, or etc. I mean, obviously at this point she's kind of justified, being walked out upon thanks to Ichigo just leaving her. It would make sense why she would try to find someone new. Maybe that will still be a thing in the future, who knows? But the point of the matter is that, when you look at her motivations from chapter 3, she decided to help the two because of, she was kind of forced to. She thought she had a chance of getting a second husband, and then she became a little bit better. And she obviously mellowed out and matured, especially after Ai's death. But I do feel like there is a a huge retcon between these two moments, the motivations of the characters. Now, this doesn't change the fact that there can be conflicting motivations. We are human at the end of the day, and everybody has different things that really drive them and push them towards a direction to kind of fight for in life. And in this case, when we do think about, Miyako in this chapter, like if we go back to the beginning, she was getting really tired of having to watch kids. These two kids, she didn't really sign up for it, and she's just really tired of it. She's like, why am I just a glorified babysitter? And when you think about it from these motivations, this makes a lot of sense, because especially with what, Ichigo kind of promised her, it's like, you can see something dazzling and all that, and then, she sees Ai on the stage, and then as it carries on, you see, he shows her the stadium that she could potentially be at, so obviously she was promised some pretty big wishes. She was excited for it, and this kind of implies that this is basically her main dream, to be able to see this one day, lit up with a bunch of lights and all that. And so, when you think about this, it kind of goes along with it until the fact, the baby starts saying, like, oh, you'll get a second husband. But anyways, I'll drop that for now. Let's get back on topic. The point of the matter is that chapter 125 does basically make Miyako a more likable character. She isn't someone that, let's just say, so to speak, is awful and has just been using these kids or being kind to them just for one thing, like, to be able to get a second husband. She's been taking care of them because she wants to be a mother figure, and she really has tried. And the last chapter basically clarified that already, but, this chapter goes along with it, that she's been, fighting for a dream for a very long time, how she started off in the industry. She was someone that really didn't have much, and, she had to go through job after job, slowly working up the ladder, and she realized eventually she reached a dead end. She wasn't going to be able to get anywhere, but thanks to luck itself, she met Ichigo, which allowed her to become who she is today. But obviously, we know Ichigo kind of, walked out on her, left her, and she's been burdened by this pressure, and she's like, why have you done this and all that? Why did you give up? All these type of things. So it's a pretty interesting chapter. Like I said, maybe I'm, not understanding everything fully. Maybe someone can explain this better than I can, but the way the chapter does look, it looks like there is some retcon here from chapter 3, but it isn't, like I said, bad. I do think that in the grand scheme of things, the motivations of Miyako is a lot better here than how it was in the past, because, like I said, this just fits more in line with the narrative of what Aka-sensei has been trying to do, and I am glad to see that Ichigo is finally getting a wake-up call and all that. The man deserves it. I mean, it's just like, this man literally left Miyako to kind of pick up the pieces and, kind of carry the whole company by herself. This man should feel ashamed. He legitimately should, after all the pressure he kind of put on her, and, she's really been trying, and she's at her breaking point now, and she is basically saying, please help me. I need help right now. I can't do this much longer. So yeah, it's a beautiful chapter. It's a really nice chapter that really dives into Miyako's character, even if at the cost of some things to be overwritten from previous chapters. But yeah, I mean, I hope that we get more content of her. I hope this isn't like the last chapter Miyako for a while, because I think that she legitimately is a good character that needs even more development. I would like to see Ichigo and Miyako to have more, kind of, overall conversation with each other, getting to see them maybe reform their bond once again, and, them working together to really set up, the dome to, kind of live on Ai's legacy, how Aqua and Ruby can, kind of participate in something like this. Hopefully, we get more of that. Like, I hope these two talk about it, and we get more dialogue with them next week. But that's my overall thoughts. I mean, the chapter overall, like I said, it doesn't push the plot forward that much. It just kind of certifies or kind of grounds Miyako's character into reality and showcases that she's only human and she has, mistakes and stuff as well. She needs help. She 100% needs help. But I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please do leave me a like. It does help me out a lot. I would greatly appreciate it. And with that, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.